Good morning. I'm not going to try to embarrass you with my Ukrainian because I don't know any. Just out of curiosity, who's heard of service design? One? Him. Only him. All right. I have to admit, before I came here, I actually looked up what Scrum is all about. I sort of know about it for many years already, but then I figured I should get into details. The first picture I found was, of course, from rugby, where you have a bunch of guys sticking their heads under other people's butts. If you Google it, you'll find it quite funny. But as far as I can define it, service design is what you do before you get to Scrum, basically. And if you want to take the official definition, it looks like this. That service design is about organizing people and infrastructure and communication, all God knows what else, in order to make something work. Which is really a convoluted way of saying this, which is the definition I like. It's making things work the way people expect them to work. Now, a lot about what you guys do and internally developing software products for internal clients and so forth and so on involves stakeholders one way or the other, but at the end of the day, there is a customer somewhere. Somebody's going to buy something for money. And that's the person that service design actually addresses. And if you want to have a business point of view on this, how things actually fit together, and it fits like this. It's a little bit of brand theory, but how does business work? If you start a business, you start with some very basic core values. You have a vision, you have a purpose. Let's say you want to be the biggest cheese maker in Ukraine. Then that's your vision. Your purpose is obviously to, make cheese. Core values involve some kind of quality. From there on, you move on to some principles, because you're doing this business following some kind of some kind of model. You are you. You want to do it by, it's good for the cows or it's bad for the cows. It's good for your bank account, it's bad for your bank account. You have some distinction. You want to be best, greenest, yellowest, whatever. There are things that you're looking for in a brand. Then you obviously come up with a promise. This is what we stand for, isn't it? This is our business, this is what we're going to deliver, this is what we do. And then you have staff, you hire a whole bunch of staff, and this staff is going to be influenced by all of this. Their behavior is going to be the majority of your brand, your business. This is what your business is how people behave. And then there's a little bit of communication that you do when you're advertising that you have the best cheese, and this ends up being a customer experience. This is what people experience at the end. Now, do you think this all adds up for business usually? Just a quick question. Does it work this way? No. There is a ridiculous statistic, and this is scary, and this is why service design, why working from the customer's perspective, why looking at what customers actually want and value is important. There's a delivery gap that's 10 times. Companies that think they do something fantastic, like my company, like your company, and our customers who think, guys, you're out to lunch. So that's what we work with. That's where service design comes into the picture. That's what matters. It's making things work the way people expect them to work, to have a good customer experience. If they don't have a good customer experience, ergo, they're not going to be very happy, and that's what not happy looks like. Yeah? Everybody here? Makes sense? So, you have products. This is what we love to talk about. We have our products, we spent lots of money engineering it and developing it and doing God knows what with it, and this is fantastic, but the customer experience on the other side looks a little bit different, right? So, why are we talking about our product? If it's the experience that actually is the thing they remember. And if anybody has kids, who's got kids? Anybody been there? Yeah? Please, take a liter of my blood, leave my kid alone, right? No, we don't do that. And this is scary. We go to the hospital and we get a bad experience. We go to the airport and we have a bad experience. We take a taxi, we get lost, we have a bad experience. We drink too much Irish whiskey tonight, and tomorrow we'll have a bad experience, but maybe that's our own fault. So, this experience matters. And this is what we work with. And if you're doing any kind of software development, from internal, external to whatever, at the end of the day, there's a customer, there's a person, a user at the end, that's going to have either a good or bad day, right? Yes? This is interactive, you know, you can ask questions all the time. So, it's not about what you do, it's about what I get. My experience matters, not what you deliver. And it's really, really stupid in the sense that quality isn't unique anymore, but that's the one thing we love to talk about. If you've ever tried to buy a TV recently, you run into this picture. What's the difference? I mean, literally, what is the difference? You all look exactly alike by now. And if you look at your phones that we all have in our hands, they all look exactly alike as well. I mean, what's the difference? The only difference is the customer experience. One's easy and one's not. And things don't work the way we expect them to work. We run into situations like this all the time. Now, where are you going to click? I mean, what am I supposed to do now? It's like the rabbit being caught in the headlights of a car, you know. Now what? You know, if I move away, it gets dark, it's nice and light here, but the car is coming. I don't know. So, and from a marketing point of view, why all this makes money sense is this is where business comes from. This is what we keep doing all the time. We are so convinced that what we're doing is right, so we just address our customers and say, take it, use it, love it, and pay for it. And in the way, marketing as a way of, you know, getting your product out to the customer, this is the way it's worked since the Second World War. Basically, we say you need it and you go out and buy it. And this worked all the way up to 2000 something. But today we are in this reality, right? And this reality means that I don't actually believe you as a company representative. I believe that my friend who said that this thing sucks. And you can't get away from that. And this is what, I mean, we're talking about customer experience design, service design, delivering customer experiences. This is what we have to work with. So what we deliver to them actually doesn't matter as much as what they say to each other. Was it good or was it bad? And that's the truth, right? So whatever we say is actually not important at all anymore. And with technology nowadays, I mean, we have these ridiculous statistics, and this applies to business, this applies to business to consumer, this applies to internally, inside businesses as well. What your colleague on the next desk says is more trustworthy than what the boss said last week. Literally. We believe people. And we have 8 million friends, right? You go somewhere, you can check out the hotel's pictures as much as you want, but when you go on TripAdvisor and see that there's a construction site right next door and the pool that is blue is actually dirty gray, and the palm trees that were alive 2 years ago when they did the nice picture are actually dead now, you don't want to go there anymore, right? So, I mean, looking at it from the customer's point of view, what is the experience that they get is literally the most important thing we can do before we start developing shit. Because we might be developing the wrong shit, and that doesn't make anybody happy. So you have this guy, he's unfortunately dead, but he has said some pretty smart things during his life, and one thing he said is you have to work backwards. Start with what you want to deliver, how good is it supposed to be, and then work backwards to the technology. That way you end up with actually delivering what you want to deliver, and it ends up being fairly unique because it ends up being something created for somebody, instead of having a company create a whole bunch of stuff and then try to market it to a whole bunch of people who probably go, okay, what's it all about? There's probably too many features, so I don't know exactly how to use it, I don't know where to get it, I don't know what it costs, I don't know where to buy it, and all that stuff. And then what happens, what do companies do when product doesn't move too well? They do a discount campaign. 50% off if you buy it right now, right? Now what is the most valuable company in the world? Apple? Have they ever done a discount campaign? No. I mean, this stuff works. Literally. The approach works, and the approach works for everything. It works for every service, every instance in a business. Looking at it from the value created for the customer rather than what we can do will deliver better value. And that is the foundation of service design. So if you look at the way we've been working, and I think you call it waterfall or call it whatever, it used to be from this, we have an idea, we have a product, we're going to now develop it, and then we run into product problems, which then we obviously find out that some stuff doesn't work very well, and then we start fixing it. Car recalls are the best ones in this case. And then there's the design way of thinking. Design methodology actually goes from a very simple premise. It looks at customer behavior, how people are in real life, and works backward. Hey, they have a problem with this point. What can we do to deliver a better result? It's not rocket science. This is so basic, and still we don't do it. The reason is that it's incredibly uncomfortable to go to talk to real customers. We'd rather talk to our neighbor in the office, and then we all agree that this would be a great idea instead of actually going out to real customers and asking them because they don't know what they want. So it's difficult to talk to customers. And the traditional approach is also, if you need more information, what do? Send out a questionnaire to 10,000 people and get, 200 answers? 500 answers? To questions you posed. So already there you've defined the problems that they are answering. Your questions have only A, B, C, D answers, so they can only choose from those answers to questions that you thought were important, but you might not even get to the questions that are actually important to the customer, right? So, at the end of the day, what they say is not what they do. They're probably going to try to answer what they think you want to hear. That's human behavior, that's what we do. We want to be nice, especially if it's personal. But the other way, much more effective way of actually finding out what people want is observing them in real life and then asking, why did you do that? Why are you sitting on that chair? Why are you holding that pen like that? Why? And you have to answer because you have done something. And you dig much deeper and you get much further in real life. So if you compare this quantitative and qualitative research methodology, qualitative will get you faster, further, and be much cheaper. If you want an example, this is, quantitative research done and quantitative building and then qualitative reaction by consumers. Now tell me, how much research do you actually need to find out that this is not going to work? Literally, how much research? This is stupid, isn't it? Yeah, just one, but there is a statistic for computer science is that actually three people will find 70% of your problems, right? So if you talk to 3 people, have a conversation, not a questionnaire, you will find out 70% of the problems in your software product, and you can fix those, and then take that to the next 3 people and find what they find, and go on like that. And talking to 15 people will get you very far, instead of talking to 150 people right at the beginning, which will only increase the percentage a little bit, but actually will take much more time and money, right? Plus, the little, this thing is stupid. And this is, I can literally imagine sending out the questionnaire to the people in the area saying, so what kind of path would you like? And they say, well, we want a nice path that goes a little bit curvy through the forest and so on and so forth. But on Monday morning when I'm running to the bus, I just want to go straight. And that's what they do. They just go straight. And the architects have started doing this in the sense that good architects, for landscaping, what they do after they build the building, they take down all the fences, clear out all the garbage, and then don't do anything. And just look at where people go. And that's where they put the path later. Instead of having the path look nice on a map from top, 2,000 kilometers high up, hey, this looks fantastic, it looks like a star, except people actually don't walk like that. Except if you're Egyptian, maybe you go like that. But that was also 2,000 years ago. So, looking for these questions, though, is the ridiculous important thing is that it's not a linear process. Our working method looks like this. It's what they call in design, it's a fuzzy front end. And the idea is that I know how to solve your problem, but I don't know how I'm going to do it. And then how long will it take? Well, it depends. How much will it cost? Well, it depends. What are you going to do first? Well, it depends. And it depends on a lot of things. But literally, this is actually trial and error. And if you think about it, what is science and scientific method of experimenting your way to a theory is trial and error. But it's qualitative. We do it one step at a time. We talk to 3 people, see what happens, and then talk to another 3 people, and then find out some kind of truth. And it works quite well. If you're a bank, you have to ask yourself, what if my whole business model is dead? If you're a car manufacturer, you have to look at the projection that they're saying nowadays, that in theory it's possible that in the future there will be 90% less cars sold. 90%, which means the business model for all the car manufacturers is dead, doesn't exist anymore. What's your future then? You have to challenge your presumptions like this. And it goes really fast. If you go from the way they scared me in the beginning of the internet to what you do with Uber nowadays, that's the picture. You wouldn't talk to anybody, meet anybody in real life, and now you Uber home and you Airbnb and do God knows what else with people you've never met, right? And this is going fast. For car manufacturers, autonomous driving means that car ownership is pointless, because they won't actually let you drive anymore because we're dangerous. Computers are much safer. So when you can't drive anymore, why own a car? And suddenly all the parking lots in the world, which is where 90% of the time the cars are parked, are not necessary anymore. What do we do with the parking lots? What do we do with the big streets? In LA, there is as much street as there is city. What if 90% of the cars disappear? What are the opportunities then? I mean, this kind of stuff is happening, and it's happening incredibly fast. And having this attitude in the beginning of what are we going to actually design for our customers? What are our customers actually looking to solve? Customers are people, if you think about cars and Ubers and everything else, we just want to get from A to B. The need has never changed. How we satisfy that need keeps changing every day. And we have to challenge our business model, have to look at it from a different point of view. If we don't do that, we can't go on. So I said this. So the trick really is, if in my mind, and you correct me if I'm wrong, Scrum is really in that area. It's about developing, prototyping, testing, getting things out the door fast. And that's on the presumption that you know what problem you're solving. Service design starts one step ahead. Come on. It goes from what decision should I make to what should I make a decision about. And it's really taking a look at this first thing. Let's find out what the problem is at all. What do customers, people have problems with? Instead of presuming that we know the problem. And literally, it is always something different. It's usually not what we think. And that's because there's this thing as a hygiene factor. There's a Japanese professor, Noriaki Kano, put it very well. For all products and services, there are 3 levels. Hygiene factors, linear factors, and delightful factors. Now, hygiene factors is that cars drive, for example. I mean, all cars drive. You can buy whichever one, they all drive, right? Linear factor is the thing that we know to pay for. If it goes faster, it costs more. If it takes less gas, it costs more. If it's beautiful, it costs more. Things we know, right? And then there's the delightful factor, which if you look at the Tesla X, for example, I don't know who watches Grand Tour and all that stuff, but it can wave its door up and down to music. That's the kind of stuff that gets put on YouTube to go, wow. Which is delightful. You never knew you needed, but after you have it, you go, damn, I want a car that waves its doors. And that's where things are different, and that's what creates loyalty, because the fact that the car drives or that it gets good gas mileage is actually just, math. It has nothing to do with customer value. The value is created somewhere else. So the trick really is how to engage these customers. And if we're going into nitty-gritty of service design, it's really looking at it from another point of view, is that customers are experts in their own lives, and we have to fit in there somewhere. They don't have to accommodate us. So as customers, I don't have to be nice to banks, banks have to be nice to me. Because I pay the bank's salary, not the bank pays mine, right? And how often do you think about your bank? Well, once a week, maybe? Really? It's not important in my life. I don't care. So, where does this make a difference? Well, here is that most people or most companies, they look at their huge customer database, and then they start researching what their customers are doing and wanting and so on, and then they look at the majority of the customers for obvious reasons. Look, we have 10,000 customers, so 9,000 of these are in this big bubble, and we research them, we find out that we're quite okay, usually. The problem is that those in the middle are there by accident. They have no idea why they're customers. If you're a grocery store, you have customers because you're logistically located in a suitable spot for these customers, not because they want to come to your store. Your store has no value. It's the products in the store that they need on their way home. You just happen to be on the right side of the street. For banks, most of the bank customers are customers because their parents were that bank's customers, and they created the first account for their kid in that bank, and if nothing changes, that's where you stay. Period. They don't care. But if you talk to the ones that hate you, or the ones that love you, on the outsides, the outliers, they know why you're good. They know why you're bad. And talking to them will give you insight. Talking to those in the middle, those are the 8% out of 80. I think I have a bank. Oh, lovely. My car drives. Fantastic. The airline I flew with, well, it took me from there to there. Who cares? How much loyalty is there for products? Very, very little. Switching is incredibly easy, especially on the internet nowadays. So, these experiences that matter are created in the meeting between services and customers, and it's really the customer's rights to compare apples to oranges. I mean, if you have an insurance company, the insurance company provides a valuable service in their mind by mitigating financial risk in the occasion of personal distress or something like that, flowery, that they write on the wall, right? Most insurance companies, their biggest problem is that their customers have no idea what they bought because they can't understand the contract, right? And terms and conditions for software, do we actually read them? I was in the hotel gym this morning. There's the little paper on the wall that says, conditions for using the gym. And it said one of the conditions was don't use the gym alone. But somebody has to be first. So what is the first person going to do there? Wait until somebody shows up? I mean, and because that's written there, and it's a liability issue, we have lawyers in Washington or God knows where saying that, this has to be there, then it's not our fault if they break their neck. I mean, come on. This is not human behavior. And I know that other places work better, so I'm comparing one to the other. And that's my right as a consumer, and people do that. And you can learn a lot from this when you talk to people who hate you or love you, because they know why. But the rest of them in the middle, they don't care. So it's really about, if you want to look at service design as a complement to Scrum and how you're developing softwares, it's looking at the journey from need to satisfaction, not just the moment of transaction. I mean, if you are a person who likes milk in their coffee, and in the morning you make your coffee, and you go to the fridge, and you take out the milk, and you discover that your damn kids have put it there empty again, That's when your need starts, right? And then the journey to satisfaction is that you need to get milk from the store, one way or the other, and you have very many options. Okay, I can order it online, how much time do I have? I can go to the store immediately and get something, just the milk, or I can make a longer list and go to a bigger store and get all the other stuff that I also need. And then, you know, the long journey might take 24 hours until I'm pouring milk in my coffee the next morning. That's a journey from need to satisfaction. And the store, the grocery store, would say, hey, look at that, a person's coming in, they're buying milk. They must be health conscious and like calcium. What has that got to do with my life? I just wanted it in my coffee so I can go outside and smoke a cigarillo, you know? It has nothing to do with the other. And that's the point of view. If you look at it from the customer's point of view, you get a different story. But we don't do that. We just think, hey, they bought milk, let's have more milk here tomorrow. It's like, why? So the question is, exactly, why? Why are people doing that they're doing? Not what they're doing. The fact that we drive a car does not mean why we're doing it. We're driving the car because we need to get the kid to school. That's why we're driving the car, otherwise I'd take the bus. I live in Stockholm. My car is parked. I mean, that's literally all it does. Because driving a car in Stockholm is stupid. Public transport works so well, why bother? I laugh every Friday night. You see the traffic jams with morons in their cars. It takes me half an hour to get home. It takes you 2 hours because you're stuck in your expensive car in the middle of traffic. Congratulations. Plus, I get to go by the pub on the way home, which is also fun, you know? It's just, why? Ask why 5 times, you get to some kind of truth. So it's really getting into this root cause analysis. That I love this quote, health is a consequence of care. Care is not a consequence of health. If you take your care of yourself, you will be healthy, more than likely. But you can't, you know, shove in health and hope for care. It doesn't work that way. There is a root cause for things. And most clients that come to us, they come with symptoms. They say, oh, we'd like to be cooler, or we'd like to be more fun, or we'd like to provide, you know, have our customers stay longer. But, you know, why aren't they? There is a reason somewhere, and it's buried deep inside people's heads, not the company's heads. So, I mean, if we're looking at customer journeys, this is what most companies look at. Hey, they come to the shop, they check out what we have, they choose the right one, they pay for it, and they get the hell out of here because then we don't have to deal with them anymore. Real customer journeys are a little bit more complicated. They start, and then they stop, and then they start again, and then they Google, and then they find something else, and then they don't want it anymore, and then they find something third, and then they don't want to buy it, and then there's a sale, and then they're not in a hurry, and suddenly guests are coming, and then they need it right now, and they run out to the closest store and buy whatever actually they didn't want at all, but they get it anyway because that was what they had time for. Unexpected guests arrive, you're shit out of luck. So, I mean, that's a customer journey. That's real life. Stuff happens. And we are like that all the time. We don't actually go, you know, logically. I don't know, who's read Kahneman's book, Thinking Fast, Thinking Slow? 1, 2, 3, good. The rest of you, read it. He says actually something very interesting, and I don't remember exactly where it's in the book, but basically 95% of the thoughts you're thinking today, you thought yesterday. And thinking is the last thing we want to do. Thinking is hard. I mean, if I ask you 2 plus 2, everybody says? 13 times 27.5. Now you have to think, and it's hard. Now you would have to literally stop everything you're doing and start doing math. It's hard. We don't think. So we are reacting, and that's our customer journeys every day. I mean, we just react to things and hope to hell that it'll work out okay. Most of the time it does. And actually that's it for me. If you want to read more, there's a fantastic book written by a really charming man, and you can find it on Amazon. Thank you. And if you have questions, now is the opportunity, I think. Oh, I love this. The feedback's just coming. Well, thank you too. Thank you.